أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون.
O ye who believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and let not death overtake you except when you are in a state of submission. And hold fast altogether to the rope of Allah, and be not divided. And remember the favour of Allah which He bestowed upon you when you were enemies, and He united your hearts in love, so that by His grace you become as brothers. And you were on the brink of a pit of fire, and He saved you from it. Thus does Allah explain to you His commandments that you may be guided.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. کلام حضرت مسلم اور رضی اللہ عنہ. نونہالا نجمات مجھے کچھ کہنا ہے، پر ہے یہ شرط کہ ضائع میرا پیغام نہ ہو. چاہتا ہوں کہ کروں چند نصائح تم کو، تاکہ پھر بعد میں مجھ پر کوئی الزام نہ ہو، تاکہ پھر بعد میں مجھ پر کوئی الزام نہ ہو. خدمت دین کو ایک فضل الہی جانو، اس کے بدلے میں کبھی طالب انعام نہ ہو، اس کے بدلے میں کبھی طالب انعام نہ ہو۔ دل میں ہو سوز تو آنکھوں سے رواں ہو آنسو، تم میں اسلام کا ہو مغز فقط نام نہ ہو، تم میں اسلام کا ہو مغز فقط نام نہ ہو۔ رغبت دل سے ہو پابند نماز و روزہ، نظر انداز کوئی حصائے احکام نہ ہو، نظر انداز کوئی حصائے احکام نہ ہو۔ میری تو حق میں تمہارے یہ دعا ہے پیارو، سر پہ اللہ کا سایہ رہے ناکام نہ ہو، سر پہ اللہ کا سایہ رہے ناکام نہ ہو۔ نونہالان جماعت مجھے کچھ کہنا ہے، پر ہے یہ شرط کہ ضائع میرا پیغام نہ ہو۔
اشہد ان لا الہ الا اللہ وحدہ لا شریک لہ واشہد ان محمدا عبدہ ورسولہ، اما بعد فاعوذ باللہ من الشیطان الرجیم، بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم۔ Dear brothers, sisters, elders, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. It's a pleasure to be with you here today on this auspicious occasion to speak about the blessed life of Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmad, may Allah be pleased with him, the second Khalifa of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wassalam. Just yesterday, Huzur Anwar Ayyadahullahu Ta'ala bin Nasr al-Aziz delivered a very faith-inspiring, a very beautiful, touching Friday sermon about the life of Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu. So one day after that Friday sermon, I'm not sure how much value I can give to you, if any, but the life of Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu is so unique, and Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu was such a unique individual that we can always find different aspects of his life to speak about and to be inspired by. Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, when we talk about the prophecy of Musleh Maud, of the promised reformer, this in itself, before we talk about the life of Hazrat Musleh Maud, just the prophecy itself is a magnificent sign of Allah the Almighty. If we read the historical background about the prophecy of Al-Musleh al-Maud, we find that this prophecy was made in a time when objections and allegations and onslaughts and attacks were being made against Islam. And at that time, the promised Messiah ﷺ prayed to Allah the Almighty to be granted a sign. And Allah the Almighty accepted the prayers of the promised Messiah ﷺ and granted him the sign of Al-Musleh al-Maud, the promised son. Allah the Almighty promised the promised Messiah ﷺ that He would grant him a son who would have 52 qualities, and he would grow and flourish, and he would become a helper of Islam, that would be a true servant of Islam and Ahmadiyyat, and who would further the mission of the promised Messiah ﷺ in a way that no other person could. We talk to atheists in this society especially. The existence of God is a subject which often comes up during the course of discussion. In fact, now people are so distant from religion that they don't want to listen to what the Holy Quran says. They don't have any concern with what the Bible says or the Torah or any other religious scripture for that matter. They say, we don't believe in God, so talking to us about scripture is irrelevant. So when we look at the topic of the existence of God, when speaking to an atheist, this is a huge proof of the existence of God. And the promised Messiah, this is not something that I say, the promised Messiah ﷺ has presented this prophecy as a proof of the existence of God. And he says in his writings in different places that speaking about this prophecy, he says that in this prophecy, Allah the Almighty has given me the glad tidings of a son. And then Allah the Almighty has outlined the detailed characteristics of that son as well. And the promised Messiah ﷺ says that when he received this prophecy, he wasn't in the prime of his youth. The promised Messiah ﷺ had aged to an extent. And he said that at that time that nobody knows if they'll even live till tomorrow, let alone give a prophecy that I would live and I would be granted a son. Then on top of that, nobody knows whether they'll be granted a son or a daughter. But Allah the Almighty said that He would be granted a son. And then even if a son is born, the promised Messiah ﷺ says, what guarantee is there that that son would have these 52 qualities? And those qualities, if you read the prophecy, they are things which you cannot develop by force. It's beyond the ability of a human being to put those qualities into anyone. The qualities of him being a sign of Allah, the quality that he would be intelligent, the quality of having an in-depth knowledge and insight in Allah the Almighty and the Holy Quran, and the fact that he would be unparalleled in his time as far as intelligence and as far as spirituality is concerned. All of these things are something that only Allah the Almighty can state and then make come true. And we see in the life of the promised son, Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, that all of those qualities were fulfilled. And there is testimony from non-Muslims who state openly that Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, Hazrat Mirza Bashiruddin Mahmud Ahmad Sahib, he was a man of extraordinary caliber, not only in the religious field, but even in secular fields as well. We know that in India at the time, in British India at the time, he was a leading figure in politics as well. Not in the sense that he was a politician, but he was a person who was a spiritual man, who was a religious leader, but politicians of that time used to look towards Hazrat Musleh Maud for advice and guidance. And he steered a lot of people who were in the field of politics in a direction which, if he was not there at the time, history would have played out very differently. And people clearly admit that Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu was a beacon of knowledge and intelligence and insight in every respect. even in worldly things as well. Then when Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu spoke about politics, it seemed as if he was the greatest expert in that field. When he would pick up the pen or deliver a lecture on his history, established historians in that era would say that Mirza Mahmud Sahib has made us feel like a student. And we feel like today the manner in which he has spoken about history, or Islamic history, and any history for that matter, he's taken us to school. When Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu would speak about economics, people who were experts in that field would say that the insight that Mirza Mahmud Ahmad Sahib has given us, we have never heard of this before. And all of these things he did in light of his knowledge of the Holy Quran and his insight into the Holy Quran. Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, more than once he gave this challenge. He used to say that Allah the Almighty has promised to support me in such a way that if anybody in the world who is an expert in any field of study, secular or religious, if he was to come in front of me and if he was to have a debate with me or discuss a matter in which that person is an expert, I would be able to demonstrate in light of the Holy Quran and in light of the insight that is present in Surah Fatiha and in other chapters of the Holy Quran, that he would be nothing compared to the knowledge that Allah the Almighty would grant me in that field. So Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu is a magnificent proof of the existence of God. And this is just one of the many prophecies that the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wassalam was given. میں عرض کر رہا تھا کہ جب ہم حضرت مصلح موعود رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ کی زندگی کے بارے میں بات کرتے ہیں، خاص طور پر پیش گوئی مصلح موعود رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ کے حوالے سے بات کرتے ہیں، تو آج کل کے معاشرے میں لوگ تو مذہب سے اتنے دور چلے گئے ہیں کہ وہ قرآن، بائبل، تورات کے تو قریب ہی نہیں آتے. وہ کہتے ہیں ہم تو خدا کو ہی نہیں مانتے، تو یہ ساری باتیں کیا معنی رکھتی ہیں. لیکن اگر ہم ایک دہریہ سے اس حوالے سے بات کریں کہ حضرت مصلح موعود رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ کی جو پیش گوئی ہے، یہ خدا تعالیٰ کی ہستی کا ایک زبردست ثبوت ہے. اور یہ میں نہیں کہتا، حضرت مسیح موعود علیہ الصلاۃ والسلام نے خود پیش گوئی مصلح موعود کو خدا تعالیٰ کی ہستی کا ایک زبردست ثبوت کے طور پر پیش کیا ہے. اور حضور فرماتے ہیں کہ دیکھو، انسان کو تو یہ بھی نہیں پتہ کہ وہ کل تک زندہ رہے گا یا نہیں. چہ جائے کہ وہ یہ پیش گوئی کرے کہ میں زندہ رہوں گا، مجھے خدا لڑکا دے گا. اب یہ کس کے ہاتھ میں ہے کہ لڑکا ہو یا لڑکی ہو؟ پہلے سے پیش گوئی کیا کہ لڑکا ہوگا، اور اگر لڑکا پیدا بھی ہو جائے تو یہ کون دے سکتا ہے گارنٹی کہ ضرور اس لڑکے میں یہ خوبیاں ہوں گی جو 52 خوبیاں صفات پیش گوئی مصلح موعود میں بیان ہوئی ہیں، وہ ان صفات کا حامل ہوگا. یہ کسی انسان کے بس کی بات نہیں ہے، یہ خدا کی ہی ذات ہے جو غیب کا علم رکھتا ہے اور جو یہ غیب کا علم اپنے چنیدہ بندوں کو دیتا ہے، اور یہ خدا تعالیٰ کی ہستی کا ثبوت ہے. پھر حضور فرماتے ہیں، حضرت مصلح موعود رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ کی زندگی کو اگر دیکھیں تو تاریخ اس بات کی گواہ ہے کہ آپ کے اندر وہ تمام صفات ہمیں نظر آتی ہیں. جب حضرت مصلح موعود رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ تاریخ کے موضوع پر تقریر فرماتے تھے تو مورخین کہتے تھے کہ مرزا محمود احمد صاحب نے تو ہمیں یوں احساس دلایا کہ ہم تو ابھی طالب علم ہیں معمولی قسم کے. یہ ایک ماہرین جو تھے اس طرح کہتے تھے. جب حضرت مصلح موعود رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ اکنامکس پہ، اقتصادیات پر بات کرتے تھے تو اقتصادیات کے ماہر کہتے تھے کہ کبھی ایسی باتیں نہیں سنی، مرزا محمود صاحب نے تو ہمیں حیران کر دیا. اور جب حضرت مصلح موعود رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ کی روحانیت سے پر تقریریں سنیں تو دل اشش کر اٹھتا ہے کہ یہ معارف ایسے ہیں کہ خدا تعالیٰ ہی دے سکتا ہے، انسان کی باتیں نہیں ہیں یہ کہ خود انسان کتابی علم سے ان چیزوں کو حاصل کر کے بیان کرے. تو حضرت مصلح موعود رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ کا جو وجود ہے وہ ایک عظیم الشان وجود ہے، اور ہم بڑے خوش قسمت ہیں کہ ہمیں اللہ تعالیٰ نے ایک ایسا وجود عطا کیا کہ جس کو مستقل یہ تڑپ تھی کہ وہ مصلح موعود تھے تو یہ چاہتے تھے کہ ہماری اصلاح ہو جائے. So the person of Hazrat Musleh Maud Razi Allah Ta'ala Anhu is such a wonderful person for which we should be thankful to Allah the Almighty, that we are fortunate that Allah the Almighty gave us a person, gave us this promise. This is a prophecy which was fulfilled in our favor, not just in favor of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam. We are the direct recipients of the fruits of this prophecy as well, because Hazrat Musleh Maud Razi Allah Ta'ala Anhu has left us with guidance that if we follow that guidance, we can become shining stars as well. When we look at the life of Hazrat Musleh Maud Razi Allah Ta'ala Anhu, from childhood we see that he was always engaged in reflection and in remembrance of Allah the Almighty. Children are usually busy in playing and having a good time, but Hazrat Musleh Maud Razi Allah Ta'ala Anhu, from a very young age, he was inclined towards Allah the Almighty. He had a very deep, mature sense of reflection, a sense of reflection which many adults don't even have. At a very young age, he would think and contemplate, and he would look for, actively search for God and try and come closer to Allah the Almighty. Hazrat Musleh Maud Razi Allah Ta'ala Anhu himself, he says that when I was about 10, 11 years of age, I decided that I'm going to critically analyze the claim of my father, the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, and if, God forbid, I feel that he is false, then I will leave the home. I will leave my father. This was the sense of righteousness that he had at such a young age. He said that I decided that I would not follow my father just because he is my father. But if I find that he is false, God forbid, then I will leave him and I will leave the house. And then the Hazrat Musleh Maud Razi Allah Ta'ala Anhu says that after a period of reflection and weighing the arguments and contemplation, I realized in my heart that the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam was a truthful man. So I can say hand on heart that I accepted the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam not because he is my father, but because he is truthful. Hazrat Musleh Maud Razi Allah Ta'ala Anhu ka jo ek معیار تھا سوچ کا، آپ کا آپ کے جو رجحانات تھے بچپن کے ہی زمانے میں ایسے تھے کہ بڑوں کے رجحانات اس قسم کے نہیں ہوتے. آدھی زندگی گزر جاتی ہے اور وہ جس کو کہتے ہیں بلوغت، ذہنی بلوغت ان کو حاصل نہیں ہوتی، جو حضرت مسلح موعود رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ کو بہت کم عمر میں، کم سنی میں ہی خدا تعالیٰ کے فضل سے مل گئی تھی. حضرت مسلح موعود رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ خود فرماتے ہیں کہ میری عادت تھی، میں سوچتا رہتا تھا، غور و فکر تدبر کرتا رہتا تھا. حضور فرماتے ہیں کہ میں تقریباً 10-11 سال کی عمر کا ہوں گا تو میں نے سوچا کہ میں اپنے ابا حضرت مسیح موعود علیہ الصلاۃ والسلام کے دعوے کے بارے میں سوچوں گا، غور کروں گا اور دلائل سے خدا تعالیٰ سے دعا کر کے یہ دیکھوں گا کہ وہ سچے ہیں کہ نہیں. اور اگر خدا نخواستہ اس غور اور فکر کے نتیجے میں اس نتیجے پہ پہنچا کہ نعوذ باللہ حضرت مسیح موعود علیہ الصلاۃ والسلام جھوٹے ہیں تو میں ان کو بھی چھوڑ دوں گا، گھر بھی چھوڑ دوں گا. اور پھر حضرت مسلح موعود رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ، یہ آپ کی زبانی ہیں، آپ فرماتے ہیں کہ مجھے جب کچھ غور کے بعد، جب دل میں تسلی ہوئی دعاؤں کے بعد، غور کے بعد کہ یقیناً حضرت مسیح موعود علیہ الصلاۃ والسلام سچے ہیں، تو اس وقت حقیقی طور پر میرے دل میں ایمان پیدا ہوا. اور یہ 11 سال کے بچے کی بات ہے. 11 سال کے بچوں کو تو اسکول بھیجنا بھی بڑا مشکل کام ہوتا ہے، ان کو تو اپنے فرائض کا بھی نہیں پتہ ہوتا. تو حضرت مسلح موعود رضی اللہ تعالیٰ عنہ کو ایک خواہش تھی، ایک تڑپ تھی بچپن سے ہی کہ خدا تعالیٰ کو کس طرح راضی کرنا ہے، اور یہ تقویٰ کا بڑا اعلیٰ معیار ہے. پھر then when we look at the life of the Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, there are so many interesting stories. He says that Hazur mentioned in his Friday sermon as well that Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu was primarily taught by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih the first, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Awwal. He taught him the Holy Quran and Bukhari. And Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu says that the best lesson, the best education that Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Awwal gave me was that whenever I would ask him a question, he would say, Mia, leave it. Let's continue. When you go home, think about it yourself. And sometimes I would feel that Hazrat Khalifa Awwal is treating me unfairly, because when other children would ask questions, he would stop the class, he would spend a good amount of time and answer their question in detail and at length. But whenever I would ask a question, I would feel as if he was ignoring me. But I realized eventually that Hazrat Khalifa Awwal radiyallahu anhu was developing this quality within me to think and reflect and come to solutions by myself through prayer. And that is a capability which was going to last with him for his whole life. It's very easy to ask a teacher to answer your question, but it's something else if you think yourself and come to a conclusion through prayer. The depth of your knowledge increases that way. Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu फरमाते हैं कि हज़रत खलीफ़ा अव्वल रज़ियल्लाहु ताला अन्हु का एक बहुत बड़ा एहसान मुझ पे ये था मेरे तालीम के दौर में कि मैं जब भी सवाल करता तो आप फरमाते कि मियाँ चलें आगे चलें, बाद में घर जाके सोचना इसके ऊपर. और बाज़ दफ़ा मुझे ये एहसास होता है शायद कि हज़रत खलीफ़ा अव्वल मेरे साथ मुख्तलिफ़ सलूक रवा रखते हैं, मेरे साथ सख्ती करते हैं. जब दूसरे बच्चे पूछते हैं तो क्लास रोक के तसल्ली से उनको तफसीली जवाब देते थे, लेकिन जब मैं पूछता तो मुझे गोया के टरखा देते कि मियाँ खुद जाके सोचना. तो हज़रत मुस्लिम मौद रज़ियल्लाहु ताला अन्हु फरमाते हैं कि ये आपका बहुत बड़ा एहसान है. मुझे ख्याल आया बाद में कि आपने आप मेरे अंदर एक इस्तेदाद पैदा करना चाहते थे, गौर के लिए फ़िक्र की इस्तेदाद एक मुझ में देखना चाहते थे, जिसके ज़रिए से मैं ख़ुद उलूम हासिल करने का एक रुझान पैदा करूं और नताइज जो हैं वो अख़ज़ करूं और दुआ से मारिफ जो है वो हासिल करूं. Then if we look at the love of Hazrat Musleh Maud, again these are just random stories which are really inspiring about the life of Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu. Hazrat Musleh Maud says that there is an incident in my life which when I think about it, I say to myself that I was very foolish for acting that way. On one hand, where I think that incident was a sign or expression of my foolishness, sometimes when I think about it, it even brings tears to my eyes. Hazrat Musleh Maud himself says that it brings tears to my eyes sometimes. He says one time we were out with the promised Messiah ﷺ sitting in our home in the veranda outside. In India, of course, in India, Pakistan, there are verandas or terraces where you can go out in the summertime and sleep. And we were there at that time with our charpais, and there was a huge lightning strike, and that the force of that lightning could be heard throughout Qadian, like a huge roaring sound. And we all got up, and the promised Messiah ﷺ said, let's go inside. It's not safe to sleep outside on the roof. And Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu says that when we were going inside, I put my hands on top of the head of on the promised Messiah ﷺ's head. I was a child. I was in him. He was holding me in his arms, and I put my hands over him to sort of protect him from any subsequent lightning strike. And Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu says that how was a child going to save the promised Messiah ﷺ? Lightning can't be stopped with the hands of a child. But what that incident taught me was the level of love that I had for the promised Messiah ﷺ from a very young age. And the love that the promised Messiah ﷺ also had for Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu is very beautiful. There is a narration of Hazrat Maulvi Abdul Kareem Sahib Sialkoti, who says that once Mian Mahmud was very young and he was crying, and the promised Messiah ﷺ was trying to console him. He was pacing on the roof, and when nothing else would work, and it had been quite a while of him crying, the promised Messiah ﷺ said, "Look, Mahmud, there is a star up in the sky." And he stayed quiet for a couple of seconds. He looked at the star, and then he started crying over that too. And he said, "Abba, oh father, I want to go to the star." And then he started crying about that. But Maulvi Abdul Karim Sahib says that the promised Messiah ﷺ didn't get frustrated at Hazrat Musleh Maud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And that's a huge, it's a beautiful story, a personal story, and it's also a lesson for us as parents as well, of the way that we should treat our children and show patience towards them. Hazrat Musleh Maud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he was a child. On one occasion, he took a huge manuscript of the promised Messiah ﷺ and lit it on fire, and it turned to ash. And when the promised Messiah ﷺ looked for his manuscript and he couldn't find it, he found out that Mahmud, who was a child at that time, had burnt his manuscript. You can imagine the kind of pain that anybody would feel when their Word document is destroyed after many hours of work. And the promised Messiah, in those days, there was no autosave either. So there was no way for the promised Messiah ﷺ to get his work back. And it's narrated that all of the members of the family were there, and they were worried and just waiting to see what would happen. And the promised Messiah ﷺ smiled at Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, at Mia Mahmud Sahib, and said, "Okay, that's all right. That's good. This means that Allah the Almighty will give me an opportunity to write something even better." That's what this means. So always seeing the positive in things. When we look at the life of Hazrat Musleh Maud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, there's a very beautiful incident as well. Hazrat Sayyid Sarwar Shah Sahib, he once was speaking to Hazrat Musleh Maud when he was a child. He used to teach the Hazrat Musleh Maud. And he said, "O Mia, your father sees a lot of dreams and he receives revelations. Have you ever seen any dreams, or have you received any revelations?" And Hazrat Musleh Maud, Mia Mahmud Sahib, who was a child at that time, he said that I haven't received any revelations as such like my father, but there is this one dream which I see almost every day. Every night, more or less, I see this same dream again and again and again. And when Hazrat Sayyid Sarwar Shah Sahib asked him what that dream was, he said that I see that I'm leading an army, and there's a huge army behind me. And I'm leading them, I come to a river, and then I cross that river with the army, and then we attack the enemy. And Hazrat Sayyid Sarwar Shah Sahib says that it was at that point that I realized that this child was going to grow into someone who was going to be a very magnificent person, who was going to be a spiritual leader at some point in time. And it's narrated that Hazrat Sayyid Sarwar Shah Sahib at that time to Hazrat Mia Mahmud Sahib, who was a child, he said, "Mia, when you become what you are going to become, don't forget me." So it shows not only the huge status of the lofty status of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih II, but it also shows the righteousness and the sincerity of the companions of the promised Messiah ﷺ as well. You see, jealousy is something which, I can't speak for anybody, but as a general thing, this is something which most people experience at least once in their life. Jealousy or envy, where they feel that their position is being threatened, or someone else is better than them in something, and they feel threatened and they feel a sense of jealousy. But the companions of the promised Messiah ﷺ were so sincere that jealousy was nowhere to be found in them. And we have Hazrat Sayyid Sarwar Shah Sahib कितने खुलूस से ये अर्ज़ करते हैं एक बच्चे को कि मियाँ जब तुम बड़े हो जाओगे और जब तुम्हें वो मकाम मिलेगा जो तुम्हारे लिए खुदा ताला ने लिखा हुआ है तो मुझे मत भूलना. then if we look at the demise of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, this was also a huge turning point in the life of Hazrat Musleh Maud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. The promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam had passed away. The companions and the whole community was in a state of shock and pain and agony. And at that time, Hazrat Amma Jan radiyallahu ta'ala anha, the blessed mother of Hazrat Musleh Maud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, and the wife of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wassalam, she gathered her children and she said, "Children, do not think that your father has left you with nothing. Don't think, because of course the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wassalam sacrificed everything that he had in the sake of for the community and service of Islam. So he didn't leave huge trust funds or properties for his children." And Hazrat Amma Jan raziyallahu ta'ala anhu said to her children once they had gathered around the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wassalam, she said, "Do not think that your father has left you with nothing. Your father has left you with a treasure of prayers in the heavens, which you will always reap the benefits of when the time comes." At that time, Hazrat Musleh Maud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was a child, was a teenager perhaps, of 14, 15. And he says that at that time, I stood at the side of my father, the deceased, the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam, the body of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam. And I made this promise and I said that even if the whole world leaves you, addressing his father who had passed away, I promise that I will never leave you, and I will single-handedly convey the message that you brought to the ends of the earth. This was the level of determination that Hazrat Musleh Maud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu had at a very young age. Hazrat Musleh Maud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu का बड़ा मशहूर वाक़या है, हमने बार बार सुना है. हुजूर फरमाते हैं कि जब हज़रत मसीह माऊद अलैहिस्सलातु वस्सलाम की वफ़ात हुई तो हज़रत अम्मा जान ने बच्चों को बुलाया और तसल्ली दी कि ये मत समझो कि तुम्हारे अब्बा तुम्हें खाली हाथ छोड़ गए हैं. तुम्हारे अब्बा तुम्हारे लिए दुआओं का ख़ज़ाना आसमान पे जमा करके गए हैं, जिसके फल तुम्हें वक्त पे मिलते रहेंगे. उस वक्त हज़रत मुस्लिह मौद रज़ी अल्लाह ताला अन्हु फरमाते हैं कि मेरे दिल में जो अज़्म पैदा हुआ वो खुदा की तरफ से था, और मैं हज़रत मसीह मौद अलैहिस्सलातु वस्सलाम के पास खड़ा हुआ और मैंने ये अहद किया अब्बा को मुखातिब करके कि अगर सारी दुनिया भी आपको छोड़ जाए मैं नहीं छोड़ूंगा आपको, और मैं आपका पैगाम जो हकीकी मानों में इस्लाम का हकीकी पैगाम है, जो इस ज़माने में दोबारा ज़िंदा हुआ है, इस्लाम का जो अहयाए नौ है, उस पैगाम को, इस काम को मैं दुनिया के किनारों तक अगर मुझे अकेला भी लेके जाना पड़ा तो मैं लेके जाऊंगा. तो हज़रत मुस्लिह मौद रज़ी अल्लाह ताला अन्हु के ये अज़ाइम थे बड़ी कम उम्र में. ये आपका रंग था जो हमें दूसरों में नज़र नहीं आता. Then if we look at the worship of Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, again I'll just mention it in passing because Hazur mentioned it in his Friday sermon. The fact that a companion of the promised Messiah alayhi salatu wasalam goes to the mosque at night thinking that I will be the only one in the mosque and I will worship Allah the Almighty in seclusion. He goes to the mosque and he sees a child who is already in sajda, in prostration, in the mosque, praying to Allah the Almighty profusely, weeping and wailing before Allah the Almighty. And he couldn't see the face of that child, but he said that this had a very deep effect on my heart. And I wanted to know what pain could this child possibly be feeling. And when I stayed there because I wanted to see who that child was, and when he got up, I saw that it was Mia Mahmud Sahib, who was praying in his worship in this manner to Allah the Almighty. And I asked him, "Oh Mia, what have you asked? What have you gathered from Allah the Almighty today in your supplications?" And he said, "I haven't asked for anything. All I asked from Allah was for Him to show me the victory of Islam, the revival of Islam in my lifetime." So, a very selfless prayer. we, even as adults, we tend to pray for our own needs. We ask Allah the Almighty to give us a good job, to enable us to develop a good career. We pray to Allah the Almighty so that we can buy our first home, or so that we can fulfill our other worldly needs. The majority of our prayers tend to be worldly in nature. But here you have this child who is selflessly praying for nothing for his own soul, but for the revival of Islam. This is the magnificent individual that Allah the Almighty was preparing with His own hands from such a young age. Then we see that the Hazrat Khalifa Awwal radiallahu anhu, when he became the Khalifa, there was a huge trial with which the Jamaat was faced. There were people who were attached to the Anjuman, which was the central, the administrative body of the community, which the promised Messiah ﷺ had formed in his own lifetime. And the president of that committee, this administrative committee known as Sadr Anjuman Ahmadiyya, this central body of the community, was headed by Khwaja Kamaluddin Sahib, and there was other stalwarts of the community at that time who were known as possessing a very high rank in the community. At that time, they went through this process of trying to degrade the Khalifa, and they had ill intentions, and they would start discussions and say that they would try and misguide people by saying that the Khalifa's only job is to lead the prayers and lead nikah ceremonies, and as far as the real authority is concerned on making the decisions, that rests with the Anjuman. And it's narrated that on one occasion, one of these cunning people, they came to Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziallahu Ta'ala anhu, again when he was about 16 years of age, 17 years of age, and he said that, "Oh Mia, what do you think the jurisdiction is of the Khalifa, his sphere of authority? How much authority does he have? What things does he have a right to make a decision on?" As a question. And Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziallahu Ta'ala anhu, at that young age, one would think that sometimes it's possible for most people that they would perhaps get into an academic discussion on the rights of the Khalifa. But Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziallahu Ta'ala anhu, at that tender age, was given such insight by Allah the Almighty that he gave such a response that individual, it was Khwaja Kamaluddin Sahib, he was completely dumbfounded and silenced. This 16-year-old child, who was max perhaps 17 years of age, he said to Khwaja Kamaluddin Sahib, who was a very elderly scholar of the community, he said that, "Khwaja Sahib, the discussions on how much authority the Khalifa has was a discussion that would have made more sense before the election of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih I. Now that you and all of your people and us and the community at large has done bayat on the hand of the Khalifa, and we have accepted the first Khalifa, Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Awwal, Maulvi Nuruddin Sahib, as our Khalifa, now we are his servants and he is our master. There is no question of us asking what his authority is and what authority he does not have." And that was the end of it. So this was the level of insight and the righteousness that Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziallahu Ta'ala anhu had at such a young age. There are many things which we can talk about. One thing which we find in the life, of course there's only so much we can talk about when we have these events, but one thing which we find in Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziallahu Ta'ala anhu was his loyalty to God and his loyalty to Khilafat. This response which he gave to Khwaja Kamaluddin Sahib was also a proof of that. And Hazrat Khalifa Awwal radiallahu anhu knew this, which is why on one occasion when he was ill towards the end of his life, he said that Mia Mahmud will lead the prayers in my absence. And Maulvi Muhammad Ali Sahib went to Hazrat Hafiz Roshan Ali Sahib and said that you are rather frank with Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Awwal. You can speak to him openly. Go and tell him that it's not appropriate for a child, of 16 years of age to lead the prayers when there are such elderly scholars present in the community? They should be leading the prayers. And so he went to Hazrat Khalifatul Masih al-Awwal and said that. And Maulvi Muhammad Ali Sahib said, don't mention my name. Say it from yourself. And Khalifa Awwal, when he heard this from Hazrat Hafiz Roshan Ali Sahib, Khalifa Awwal radiyallahu anhu said that it's not a matter of age. The Holy Quran says, Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. That the most honorable among you are those who are the most righteous. And as far as I am concerned, I can see no one in the whole community who is more righteous than Mirza Mahmud, who was a child, a teenager of 16 years, 17 years of age, 20 years perhaps, towards the end of the Khalifa Awwal's life. So Hazrat Khalifa Awwal knew this loyalty that he had in his heart as well. And it was that very loyalty which became the stepping stone to his further progress in life and his relationship with Allah the Almighty. And that righteousness we see in every aspect of the life of Hazrat Musleh Maud radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He went on to establish a system of the Jamaat which was based on such firm footing that now the community is flourishing because of that foundation which was laid by Hazrat Musleh Maud radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Khudamul Ahmadiyya, Ansarullah, Lajna, Atfal, Nasirat, these auxiliaries that he has put together. Then the system of Tehreek-e-Jadid and Waqf-e-Jadid to further the work of the missions in foreign lands. All of these things go to show how much love and how much burning the promised son felt in his heart to convey this message of Islam and Ahmadiyya to the ends of the earth. And he never considered himself to be different than the members of the community. He never gave himself more privilege than anybody else. We've heard the story of when Hazrat Mirza Anas Ahmad Sahib, the son of Khalifa Tul Masih, a third passed away. Our present Hazur, he mentioned a story that when the Tehreek-e-Jadid, Waqf-e-Jadid time was going on, Hazrat Musleh Maud radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu said that one of the requirements of this is that we must all lead a simple life. And he said that every Ahmadi will have one roti. And at that time, Mirza Anas Ahmad Sahib, who was a child, he said that he was crying, and somebody mentioned to Hazrat Musleh Maud that he says that I can't live on one roti. I feel hungry. So Hazrat Musleh Maud radhiyallahu ta'ala anhu could have said, okay, he's a child, he's a grandson, give him one extra roti. He said no. He said, okay, if Anas cannot deal with one roti, then he can have mine. So this was his level of righteousness. I remember when I was I'll just mention this last story because usually stories stick by us and they inspire us to act to become better people. I remember when I was in Canada, Hazrat Bibi Jamil Sahiba, who is the sister of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih IV, I had a close relationship with her. I would go and sit with her and talk to her. She would tell me stories about Hazrat Musleh Maud. I was always interested to see her photos. She had very rare photos of Hazrat Musleh Maud. She would show me, she would tell me stories. One of the stories that she mentioned, which I have never, it's left such an impression on my heart that I've never been able to forget it. She says that Hazrat Musleh Maud, when he became Khalifa, there was a man appointed as a helper who was responsible for polishing Hazur's shoes, ironing his clothes, doing some of the basic chores for him so that he could spend more time, of course, in his other responsibilities. And he had strictly instructed, Hazrat Bibi Jamil Sahiba says, that he had strictly instructed that none of us children were permitted to use his services for the home, because he was someone who was given a stipend to serve the Khalifa at a professional level. So Hazrat Musleh Maud said that I don't want any of the children or any of my household to be using that man for our personal chores. Of course, Bibi Jamil Sahiba, she says that I was a child and children they want facility. So one day I had my shoes and I gave my shoes to the worker, and I said, please, if you can do it. And of course, the worker wasn't going to refuse. Of course, he was going to do it. very happily indeed. Anyway, Bibi Jamil Sahiba says that उनके अल्फाज हैं कि जब अब्बा जलाल में आते थे तो फिर शेर लगते थे. And she says that when Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu would take on this awe-inspiring nature, because of when he became indignant over something, you didn't want to be near him because he looked like a lion. And she says, I saw that Hazrat Musleh Maud had my shoes in his hand, and he walked into the home and he called all of the children and he said, Kiski juti hai ye? Whose shoes are these? And of course everybody was silent, everybody was worried that now ab shamat aayegi. And eventually when Hazur said again, Fauran batao, abhi batao, kiski juti hai ye? Main pooch raha hu, sawal kar raha hu. And Bibi Jamil Sahiba says that I said with a squeaky voice, Abba meri hai juti, it's mine, these shoes are mine. And then she says that all of a sudden, of course she was a daughter and Abba was, of course a father is a father, but he was a father who always brought home a principle. He would never sacrifice on matters of principle. All of a sudden he became cool and he said, Idhar aao, come here. And he said, Bibi Jamil Sahiba was telling me this. She said that Abba called me, I went to him, and he very lovingly, in a soft voice, he said to me, Jamil, ye खिलाफत के खादिम हैं, खलीफा वक्त के खादिम हैं, इनका काम है कि खलीफा वक्त के काम करें, उसके लिए जमात इनको तनख्वाह देती है. तुम लोग अगर इनको इस्तेमाल करोगे अपने कामों के लिए तो क़यामत के दिन मैं खुदा ताला को क्या जवाब दूंगा कि मैंने जमाती पैसे को और जमात के खादिमों को अपने ज़ाती अगराज़ के लिए इस्तेमाल होने दिया. तो तुमसे अगर जूती पॉलिश नहीं होती तो तुम मुझे दे दिया करो, मैं कर दिया करूँगा. Hazrat Musleh Maud said to his daughter that I have told you, in a very loving, soft tone, that Jamil, I have told you that this is a person who is employed by the Jamaat, who is meant to serve the Khalifa. And if you give your things for him to do in our household at a personal level, what answer will I give to Allah the Almighty on the day of resurrection? I will have to tell Allah that I allowed a Jamaati worker to be used for my own personal purposes. So if you cannot polish your own shoes, if it's that difficult for you, give them to me. I will polish your shoes for you. So this level of righteousness and this level of integrity is something which is inspiring for all of us. It is something that we can learn from. And if we always ensure that we remain pure and if we remain sincere, then we will always increase in our level of righteousness. We have these events every year in which we discuss the blessed life of Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu. But my dear brothers and sisters, these events are useless if we listen to these stories and go home and begin living our lives again. Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu came to reform us. He was the promised reformer. That's the meaning of Musleh al-Maud, the promised reformer. So if these events do not become a means of reforming us at a spiritual level, at a moral level, then these events no longer they don't serve their purpose. So I first address myself and then all of you, that we should take these examples of Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu and remember that we should spend every ounce of our strength, every particle of our body to serve the community and to serve Islam. Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala Anhu, I will mention this last thing and then take leave because I know I'm 5 minutes over. Hazrat Musleh Maud's level of work and his love for Allah was such that he says on one occasion, someone raised this objection that what does the Khalifa do? Hazrat Musleh Maud says in one of his speeches that someone has raised this allegation that what does the Khalifa do? The Khalifa just walks around, leads the prayers, he goes to events and ceremonies, sits on the head table and then goes home. some ill-minded individual raised this objection. And Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu then went through his morning schedule from morning to evening. He went through his schedule and he said, so now let me tell the community what my schedule is like. And he went one by one and started telling the community his schedule. And then at the very end, he says that when I'm done with my work, I don't stop my work out of my own accord. When I go to bed, the reason that I leave my work and go to bed is because I'm so physically exhausted by night that when I lie down on my bed, when my body can take no more and I'm completely exhausted, that's when I put my work aside and I go and sleep. And when I lie down in my bed, because of that physical exhaustion, my body is literally shaking and trembling. This is the state that I'm in when I'm sleeping. So, if Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu put so much effort into serving Allah the Almighty and serving Islam, then we have a lot more to work for. Because we are not at the spiritual level of Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu. But if he had that work ethic, then how much more effort do we need to put in to become beloved servants of Allah the Almighty? So I hope and I pray, my dear brothers and sisters, elders, that this event and these events always remind us of the responsibility that we have to Allah and the responsibility that we owe to the blessed people who Allah the Almighty has granted us. And in this case, it is Hazrat Musleh Maud Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu that we are talking about. Nothing would please him more than for us to reform ourselves, because that is what he wanted from us. So I hope and pray that Allah enables us to grow from strength to strength in our spirituality, in our levels of worship, and in our sincerity, and in our honesty, and in our integrity, and in all of the good qualities that Allah the Almighty wants to see in us. Ameen. Allahumma ameen.